Okay, so I had assumed that I was going to brush this topic off, especially since I'm currently working on other things like my upcoming Christmas special. However, I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and I really need to get these thoughts off my chest. I'm sure some of you remember my old SMG4 rant and how my feelings towards the state of the SMG4 channel were very mixed. Of course, I stopped watching the series sometime after the rant, so that video became kind of outdated. But after what happened recently, I feel like I need to step up again and quickly give my thoughts on, this thing. I want to reiterate that I have not watched SMG4's modern content in several years, so I'm strictly going to talk about these redesigns mostly out of context, and why they just do not work. As much as I want to go into things like the series' lore, and how it seems to retcon a lot of older videos, or the characters and how they just don't fit within its universe, I feel like those need to be saved for a potential follow-up to my old rant video. I will simply talk about how I feel about these designs themselves. What makes this redesign such a problem for me? Well, before talking about SMG4, and by extension SMG3, let me just quickly give my thoughts on the other two characters who got redesigned. First, let's talk about Bob. From what I've seen, it's generally agreed that Bob's design is the best of the bunch, and I think I agree. However, this is likely because Bob's actual design hasn't really changed. Like, he looks the exact same outside of his robe thingy being converted to a bandana, and having that original part of his body being replaced with stitches. That's really it aside from the simpler textures. As for Boopkins... Okay, yeah, this is the worst one. It's like they tried to take the Spike's already simple design and simplify it further, and it just does not look good. Luckily, I don't care about these redesigns as much because I hardly ever liked these characters in the first place. Anyways, back to SMG4. So, I don't think this design is inherently that bad. In fact, I think Boopkins is still worse overall, but I still have so many issues with it. And yes, I know that there have been instances of a Mario recolor getting a significant redesign in the past. These tend to fall into two camps. The first being where the character is redesigned to the point where they're practically unrecognizable outside of their color scheme, and the other being where the Mario aspect of the design is kept, just with some model tweaks, such as accessories. SMG4's design is a weird in-between, where his outfit is basically identical, but his face has been completely changed. I would be fine with this if he didn't look so bland. See, the thing with Mario is that because his design is so good and expressive, it retroactively makes just about any recolor of him also look good. But this design doesn't carry any of that Mario charm. He's just... he's just a guy. Like, he looks like a background NPC from some Animal Crossing game or something. Like, I'm getting nothing from this face and these expressions. Also, this applies to practically all of SMG4's original characters, but why does he look like he's made out of plastic? He just looks like he's too stiff to make any sort of expression. And yes, the Super Mario 64 model does look better, but it still carries the problem of the design being too simple and boring. These same arguments also apply to SMG3, who has a similar issue of looking too plain to do anything with. Like, he looks too soft to be a villain character. I know he's kind of meant to be a pathetic antagonist, but that doesn't mean you can just avoid making him look even slightly intimidating. Once again, Mario's expressiveness helped to sell the fact that SMG3 was indeed an evil guy. And no, the beard does not help at all. So, why did they make these redesigns? Well, the most common reasoning from fans that I've seen is because they want to avoid a DMCA from Nintendo. Well, I can automatically disprove this by saying that SMG4 has been around for over a decade now, showing that Nintendo has clearly not cared, but also the fact that Mario and Luigi are literally still major characters? Okay, well, maybe they did the redesigns for merchandise, which sounds probable until you realize they've literally used the SMG4 redesign for stuff in the past. Why would they suddenly bring that over to the actual series? The decision becomes even more baffling when you know that SMG4's fanbase is already so incredibly divided. Like, did you really need to make such a huge change like this that would only divide the fanbase even more? Speaking of the fanbase, I know that at least one person is gonna comment on this video saying something like, well, you'll get used to it, stop complaining. If I have to get used to a change to something that worked perfectly fine for the past 10 years, then I'm pretty sure that means that the change is bad. Or how about, it's just a meme channel on the internet, why are you getting so worked up? You can literally make this exact same argument for any piece of media ever. People criticize things because they want them to be good. I'm criticizing this redesign because I think it's a bad change to something that I've known for a fucking decade. By that logic, I could question why you're trying to defend this redesign. Is it because it looks unique? Being unique does not automatically mean it's good. For God's sake. Look, at the end of the day, this isn't the worst thing ever. I'm not against the idea of redesigning old characters as long as the new designs still respect the original and don't feel like a downgrade. But this, it just does not work for me. And it gets even worse when you see it try to do the triangle mouth. Please change it back, I'm begging you.